and welcome to this special workshop look at the play of Wit and Science made by Master John Redford in the late 1530s, early 1540s. It is an incomplete text. It is a fragmentary play. We have done a first look exploring session where we read through the play and got some first impressions. What we're going to be doing this week is we're going to be working through the text again, but we're going to be starting a lot more. We're going to be looking for performance-y things. We may be applying certain ideas. We may go back and get different people to read different things, and we're just generally going to just have a bit of fun because it's the end of the year. It's been a long year, and it's a fun old time. Working through the text today, we have in the room, we have Eric.
Yes, I'm present.
We have Liza.
Yes.
We have Alan.
Present.
Alexandra.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Valentina.
Yes.
Helen.
Yes.
Aliki.
Hi.
And Rachael.
Hi.
And I am Robert, and we are going to be looking at this in various different ways. I'm going to just ask people to nominate themselves if they want to be reading as we go along. Some of you may be more interested in sort of looking at the text as we go and thinking about things, and some of you may be more in the ready zone. I don't know. Who wants to be a first read? Who wants to read first? Put hands up. Who really wants to do some reading? Aliki and Elizabeth hands went straight up. So Aliki, I'll ask you to read reason, and Elizabeth, I'll ask you to read instruction. I'll give you a little bit of context, as we are literally a third of the way into a play, the first third of which is lost. And this is a quest, people. This is a quest. Bold, over the top questing is required. Basically, Wit wants to get married to Science. Wit is on stage, but currently saying nothing. He's got his mates around him, and he's being spoken to quite seriously by Questmaster Reason, who is the father of Science. It's basically, the in-law is sending you on a quest, otherwise you can't marry his daughter, or her daughter for that matter. Actually, I'm not sure which gender Reason is supposed to be. Reason is being very, very rari to these people, of the setting instructions of the peril, because Wit is being sent on a quest to kill the monster Tediousness.
Yay!
Yes. So the question of how do we destroy tediousness, and in the room, who does say something is instruction. So Reason, in this completely lack of context world, I feel that Reason is someone who's a moderately tense person. That's how I feel it, but you can make a decision in your own mind as to where you would place Reason. And let's go with Reason mid-speech.
Then, in remembrance of Reason, hold ye a glass of reason, wherein behold ye yourself to yourself. Namely, when ye come near my daughter Science, then see that all things be clean and trick about ye, lest some sluggishness she might doubt ye. This glass of reason shall show ye all. Well, ye have that, ye have me, and shall. Get ye forth now. Instruction, farewell.
Lord, keep ye.
And we will pause there. I just want to do that bit again because there's an interesting question about what's going on with Reason here. Who wants to be Wit? Who fancies being Wit in a moment? Volunteer from Rachael. Rachael has volunteered. Hand went up. Wasn't that fabulous? Okay, Wit. You're on stage at the moment with Aliki. Aliki, I want Reason to put the fear of God into Wit here. Which you want to marry his daughter, and Reason is being quite rough with you, perhaps. So put the fear of God into Rachael there. Rachael, be afraid. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Let's see where that goes. Try that again with reactions from Elizabeth and Rachael there. Let's see how that goes.
Then, in remembrance of Reason, hold ye a glass of reason, wherein behold ye yourself to yourself. Namely, when ye come near my daughter Science, then see that all things be clean and trick about ye, lest of some sluggishness she might doubt ye. This glass of reason shall show ye all. You have that, you have me, and shall. Get ye forth now. Instruction, farewell.
Sir, good keeping.
And they exit. I'm just interested by the who Reason is. I think Reason is pretending to be very stern there. I think Reason is going to be pretending to be very stern just to scare Wit. I think that's perfectly Reason. Everybody now exits. Let's Reason. I want you to relax now. They've gone. Yep. Play around with that. Play around with that as quite a relaxed Reason. Say farewell to them all, and you all from peril. So we'll just move the stage direction there to afterwards. And so instruction, Sir God keep ye. Just give us that line again, please.
Sir, God keep ye.
And ye all from peril. If any man now marvel that I would bestow my daughter thus basely, of truth, I, Reason, am of this mind. Where parties together be inclined by gifts of graces to love each other, there let them join the one with t'other. This Wit such gifts of graces hath in him, that maketh my daughter to wish to win him. Young, painful, tractable, and capax. These be Wit's gifts, which Science doth ax. And as for her, as soon as Wit sees her, for all the world he would not then lease her. Wherefore, since they both be so meet matches to love each other, straw for the patches of worldly muck, Science hath enough for them both to live, if Wit be through stricken in love, as he hath since showed. I doubt not my daughter well bestowed. The end of his journey will prove all. Wit hold out, no more proof can fall, and that the better hold out he may, to refresh me soon. Wit. Now, by the way, some solace for him I will provide. An honest woman dwelleth here beside, whose name is called Honest Recreation, as men report. For Wit's consolation she hath no peer. If Wit were half dead, she could revive him. Thus it is said. Wherefore, if money or love can hire her to hie after Wit, I will desire her.
And Reason goes out, and we'll just pause there. We've got lots of bits of plot coming in here for later on, but I quite like the difference between Reason in public and Reason in private, and just going, ha ha. Introducing a character for later, Honest Recreation, who hath no peer. He'll be there for Wit's consolation. Helen, muted at the moment.
I would really love to know what actually could be called honest recreation in this context. Good, clean fun. Dancing. You reckon?
Dancing.
Ah.
Specifically, it will be dancing. It's a good question. It's actually a very good question as to how far into actually having fun honest recreation is. It's a big theme that we'll come to later. Because obviously when you're fighting the monster tediousness, you need to have some kind of honest recreation to keep you from getting bored. Very important concepts here.
Yes, but if honest recreation is a woman...
Mm-hmm, she is indeed.
Yeah. I think this could end badly.
The honest women do exist. We'll later meet a very corrupt one. But
yes.
this one you're going to have to take her at her word for her intentions.
Yes.
I would define honest recreation as anything you can do sober and not for money.
And with most of your clothes on. Yeah, other thoughts, questions? We are literally jumping into this, just looking for the sort of performance sense, but we are do ask questions and things and play around. We did have earlier, Aliki was holding up a glass of water, but that is a looking glass. Again, that's a plot point for later, but was a perfectly legitimate prop to be grabbing at short notice. Other thoughts, questions? We have in the chat people are asking about the dates again. So yes, there's a number of dates where it could be either late 1530s or early 1540s. There are specific dates in the middle of that which it can't be. It's to do with when the schoolmaster is available potentially for writing this for children of St Paul's. So there are quite specific dates it could be. Generally early 1540s. It's Henry VIII, whichever way you want to scan it, as it were. We have two later versions of this play, or versions that go further in time, another 30-40 years. So this is a popular play in a sense, because people keep redoing it and changing it. Okay, that was a moment, a fragmentary moment. I don't want to linger on it, however much I quite like reason, or the possibilities of reason. We now have, shall we call this is a servant of wit, confidence. These are all allegorical figures. Who fancies reading in confidence? Who's confident? Helen is feeling confident. So don't be enjoy. This quite loose perhaps person, I don't know, is confidence. Someone who's very confident, I suspect, is the way to go for confidence. He's got a picture of his master with him, a picture of wit, which he's taking to his beloved. So carry that picture with confidence.
I don't think it's that sort of confidence.
Well, then just go with whichever kind of confidence you think is performable.
Ah, sir. What time of day is't? Who can tell? The day's not far past, I wot well, for I have gone fast, and yet I see I am far from whereas I would be. Well, I have day enough yet, I spy. Wherefore, or I pass hence, now must I see this same token here, a plain case, what wit hath sent to my lady's grace. Now will ye see a goodly picture of wit himself, his own image sure, face, body, arms, legs, both limb and joint, as like him as can be in every point, it lacketh but life. Well, I can him thank, this token indeed shall make some crank. For what with this picture so well favoured, and what with those sweet words so well savoured, distilling from the mouth of confidence, shall not this appease the heart of science? Yes, I thank God I am of that nature, able to compass this matter sure, as ye shall see now who list to mark it, how neatly and featly I shall work it.
And we have the exit there of confidence. We've just been having the discussion about, yes, what do we mean by confidence? Is this the confidence of someone who needs some confidence to go out into the world, or is this the personification of being able to confide in someone, as Alexandra was putting in the chat? Helen then Eric.
Yeah, I assumed that it had to be someone who was a confidential servant, someone who was in whom one could safely confide. But in fact, if you look at the last couplet, It's definitely the other sort of confidence, possibly as well, but certainly the other sort.
Eric?
Well, for me, it kind of started as like, the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland slowly working his way into the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, which is a very big change in terms of mood. Sort of like, oh my God, I'm late. And then suddenly like, oh yes, I'm the best. It's fine.
I've got this great picture. Yes, he does come and basically comes on, I don't know where the hell I am. Oh, it's fine. It's still early yet.
Yeah. It's confidence.
Yeah. I think actually it may be both. I think there's something we'll look into in a little later on. We're going to find in the next speech people are going to be talking about him, so we might glean a little bit more information about who confidence is as a servant. But yeah, he's off to science with a picture of Wit, a picture of his master, a bit of a love token there, perhaps. Interesting political question about what that denotes for the audience at the time, and hopefully that's going to lead to good things in the future. It's going to be very important. Other thoughts? We effectively have the opening, a change of scene. This confidence denotes here in the sense of someone on a journey. And I definitely feel that either at the beginning of this speech or at the end of this speech, because there's a lot of people coming and going, there should definitely be a sign plonked down in pure panto fashion, pointing out the directions. So you can go to Science's house, or you can go to the Mountain of Tediousness, or wherever Tediousness lives in this particular quest world. So we're not going to again linger on confidence too much, but other thoughts on confidence and what the games that might be going on here, Eric?
Wasn't it more traditional for the bride's picture to be shared with the potential groom rather than the other way around, or is it just me?
I have literally no idea. If you've got the money, I'm sure they could both swap, and I see no particular reason why not.
Yeah. Paired pictures, usually painted by the same artist, were rather a thing.
Because I think an important plot point is to mention that confidence is going to science with this token. There is an expectation he will come back with a token from her.
And in this case, science is the one of higher status, so she's the one who's the chooser.
Yes. That's the yes. Wit is having to go through this ordeal because he's of a lower status. He has to undergo these trials, which are going to be torturous, I'm sure. Other thoughts? The mechanics of this are quite straightforward. We've gone from a big scene, which ended with a long speech by a singular character. We then essentially have this transition scene to the outside world on a journey, confidence rushing on, not sure where he's going, relaxing, do a little bit of banter to fill in some information for the audience, and then exiting. And then we have the re-entrance now of the other characters. Do you want to continue with being Wit? You were doing some lovely reactions earlier, Rachael. Fancy still being Wit? Excellent. Who fancies being Diligence? Volunteers, please. Alexandra just volunteered. It was great. And Study. Valentina's just volunteered. That's fabulous. And we need Instruction. Who wants to... Oh, we've got an Instruction. Elizabeth's already Instruction. So we've got Wit, who is, I think, fair to say... I think we discussed in the first reading possibly a bit too high energy, a bit too eager to get on, and is rushing around, and now they're lost and they don't know which way to go. And he's asking his mates, Diligence and Study, which is the best way to go. And we may pause and go over this bit a few times. So Wit enters with instruction and without instruction, but with Study and Diligence.
Now, sirs, come on, which is the way now? This way or that way? Study, how say you? Speak Diligence, which he hath bethought him.
That way, belike. Most usage hath wrought him.
Yeah, hold your peace. Best way here now stay for instruction. I like not that way.
Instruction, Study? I ween we have lost him.
Okay, it's only been a few lines, but I'm going to stop. We're going to do all that again. Wit. Pauses. You've got lots of rooms for pauses in that first 2-3 lines. Which is the way? Nobody knows. This way or that way? You've got pause there. Study, how say you? And at that point, I think everyone just needs to look at Study. And Study thinks. I don't know whether Study has an attitude of thinking. Maybe Study has to think in a very specific way, and then you can turn to Diligence and say, while he's thinking, what do you think? So there's lots of potential here with what's going on here. Wit is expecting his mates to tell him where they're going, and people don't know. Study really is that wants to wait for instruction. We want some instruction. Instruction might be able to tell us where we're going. So maybe that might be good, but we will get there in a moment. So Wit, don't be afraid to pause, and be confused, and act as though you're wandering left and right across the stage, which you can't do because we're on Zoom. But that's, I think, the game that's going on here is, where are we? Which way are we going? Where are we? I don't know where we are. Okay, Wit, and everyone enters.
Well, sirs, come on. Which is the way now? This way or that way? Study? How say you? Speak, Diligence, while he hath bethought him.
That way, belike. Most usage hath wrought him.
Yeah? Hold your peace. Best we here now stay for instruction. I like not that way.
Instruction, Study? I ween we have lost him.
Okay, we've got lots of opportunity for physical business here as well. I'm really liking the idea. It's Diligent. After Diligence speaks that way, everybody starts walking that way, and then Study at that moment, just as they're about to get off stage, goes, "No, hold on," and then everybody clusters back into the same position. And I like the idea that Wit, Diligence, Study have a sort of holding pattern that they always revert to. That they have a. Obviously, we can't do that on Zoom, but I'd just like to talk through that idea. Also, instruction. I like, best we wait for instruction. It's Wit, like Wit just goes, instruction, and everybody just looks around. He's not with us. Where's instruction? You've lost him because Wit's just gone tearing ahead into the middle of the woods and has got lost, or whatever. Maybe that way. I think higher energy for Wit. I think he needs to barrel on and then stop, and barrel on and then stop. Maybe. Again, I'm trying to only to give instructions that are external, not internal, and ideas and thoughts. Other thoughts about these few lines? Anyone else disagree with me or have extensions? Aliki.
I would really love to see Wit make each pause as long as it can possibly be. That would amuse me.
Yeah, but I think it's got to be paid off by the high energy when Wit is speaking.
Yeah, I agree.
It's got to be, and now we are going forward.
Yeah.
More dialogue occurs.
Actually, I think that's true for everybody. Any decision made has to be immediately followed by action. It's not going to be walking off the stage, but maybe it's or whatever, and then dropped.
Yeah. I like that. Going high energy, high volume, high everything, and stopping when we hit those stopping points. Eric.
Well, you can kind of imagine Wit is literally going in circles at this point, sort of like, which way, which is the way now, huh? Which is the way now? Just like sort of completely lost and like, okay, this way or that way. Also on my screen, it was quite funny because Alexandra pointed one direction, and then because of the way the camera works, Valentina pointed in the other direction.
Yes, we will go that way. Everybody points in a different direction. That's democracy for you.
Other way.
Yeah. Which way do we go? That way. Yes. Okay. Let's try that again. We'll add the entrance of instruction. I don't know how. tired instruction is of everybody. I don't know if instruction is tired or just a bit schoolmasterish. We can discuss about precisely how instruction functions in a bit. But let's go from that entrance of wit, high energies, but with big pauses. Over the top, don't be afraid.
Now, sirs. Come on. Which is the way now? This way or that way? Study. How say you? Speak, diligence. Well, he hath bethought him.
That way, belike, most usage hath wrought him.
Yeah, hold your peace. Best we here now stay for instruction. I like not that way.
Instruction? Study? I ween we have lost him.
Indeed, full gently about ye have tossed him. What mean you, wit, ill to delight, running before thus, still out of sight, and thereby out of your way now quite? What do ye here except he would fight? Come back again, wit, for I must choose ye an easier way than this, or else lose ye.
What aileth this way? Peril here is none.
But as much as your life standeth upon, your enemy man lieth here before ye, tediousness to brain or to gore ye.
And we're just going to pause there briefly. So what's nice, instruction coming on. I see that instruction really should have wit on one of those extending dog leads. Of just get, and it's gone to the full extension of its length, and instruction finally comes on and goes, no, not that way, no, stop, pull back. And just that wit is just heading straight for the monster tediousness, and that's bad. You don't want to head straight there. There are other things to do first. Instruction has a plan, and you need to listen to that plan. I like the idea that when instruction comes on, indeed, that everybody jumps. It's like he's come on from the wrong side of the stage, and everybody just goes, yeah! Because they're going, where's he gone? Where's he gone? And they all look, and then he appears, and there's a sort of it's behind you quality to that, which I'm quite liking. Other thoughts? Liza?
The long pauses were worth trying, but I think they obscure what the game is at the top of the scene, which is which way do we go? Diligence says, Study is presumably consulting a map or something. Diligence says that way, and Study says no. So there has to be a direction of momentum that way, and it has to then be stopped.
Yes. So I think we don't need all of those. We need a few pauses. We don't need as many as we tried. But I think that it's just a matter of pointing where we put those in. Again, it's that problem. We were trying to give the impression of what we were doing on Zoom to give the idea of the scene. Other thoughts there?
It's not so much on the scene, but that we were talking in the chat about the lead, right? That you mentioned, and the image that came to me was of a person who's gotten a puppy in order to get back into shape, right? So, and then you sort of arrive like that.
Yes, yeah, instruction out of breath. And it's just the way that Wit just goes, what's wrong with going? I don't see anything problem going down this dark, terrifying path towards the terrifying monster. I don't see a problem there. What's the problem? And it's just like he can't see it.
Yeah, which is just like your puppy will, go straight into the highway if allowed.
We're about to encounter the terror that is tediousness. Let's go from instruction Well, let's go from wit. What aileth this way? Peril here is none. So it's really his wit. What's the problem? I don't see a problem. It's all smiles and loveliness and instruction. You've got to explain again. Thing is, instruction you've probably explained to him several times. To Wit. Wit's just not getting it. Wit is just not getting it. So you're going to have to keep explaining to Wit what the hell is going on with this tediousness monster. So wit, what aileth this way, and instruction, but as much as your life standeth upon.
What aileth this way? Peril here is none.
But as much as your life standeth upon, your enemy, man, lieth here before ye, tediousness, to brain or to gore ye.
Tediousness, doth that tyrant rest? In my way now, Lord, how am I blessed? That occasion so near me stirs, for my dear heart's sake to win my spurs. Sir, would ye fear me with that foul thief, with whom to meet my desire is chief?
And what would ye do, you having naught for your defence? For though ye have caught garments of science upon your back, yet weapons of science ye do lack.
What weapons of science should I have?
Such as all lovers of their loves crave, a token from Lady Science, whereby hope of her favour may spring, and thereby comfort, which is the weapon doubtless that must serve you against tediousness.
If hope or comfort may be my weapon, then never with tediousness me threaten. For as for hope of my dear heart's favour, and thereby comfort enough I gather.
Wit, hear me, till I see confidence have brought some token from Lady Science, that I may feel that she favoureth you, ye pass not this way, I tell you true.
Which way then?
A plainer way, I told ye, out of danger from your foe to hold ye.
And we'll just pause there. So many interesting things there. I just love the instructions line. Wit, hear me. I mean, you can literally feel grabbing Wit and just shaking. Listen, slap, slap, slap. It's quite aggressive. Not listening. I feel that Wit feels. There are moments when Wit needs to slap their thigh and just go, but this is my task. I'm going to do this. The straight path is the best. Straight away to. There's a scrappy-do quality to Wit. I'm quite liking of just going. Tediousness. Is that the direction? Oh, well, that's where I'm supposed to be going. Instructions saying, no, look, you need weapons. And we know that confidence is off to science to get the thing from science, which is the token, which is going to help him fight. But it hasn't got that far yet. Wit's not necessarily the sharpest tool in the box. Just putting that possibly out there. Not. Bit too much enthusiasm. But there's again so much potential there. It's an interesting question what diligence and study are doing at this particular point. I suspect they're looking at the map and upstaging massively. Upstaging business is allowed. I feel that's entirely in keeping with the tone of the piece, especially remembering that you are all teenage boys, and that's the intended performance medium. Other thoughts? I'm talking a lot. I do that. Eric.
You can kind of imagine sort of Wit after all this thing from instruction going, you don't pass this way, I tell you true, and then Wit sort of going, which way then? Like, I don't want to listen to this again. I'm bored. I just want to do the quest. I want to, be with the love of my life or whatever.
Liza.
Well, this kind of furthers my theory that this play is actually about ADHD. And if Wit stops moving, he'll stop altogether.
Yeah, one of the sort of, if we're going with the sort of allegorical, moral of the story is, it's about focus and moderation in terms of studying and your education, and it's the kind of thing you do for school children. You want to have a bit of fun, but not too much, and you also want to have all the tools when you're studying to avoid getting really bored, because otherwise you won't get anything done there either. And it plays around with all these themes quite cleverly, actually.
Yeah, I mean, wit running ahead of instruction is a really good metaphor.
He's got talent as wit. He's got that natural ability, but just lacks the experience and the instruction. Doesn't listen to instructions, so it's not going to do anything in the most efficient way or the most sensible way. Other thoughts? No. Okay. I'm liking where we are with this. I'm liking what the possibilities of performance. All of it feels very bold and nicely over the top in a way. I think there's a lot of potential here about wanting to go in different directions and arguing on that front. Which path do you go through the woods, people? So we're going to go from wit, however, instruction, hear me, and we'll go from there to the end of the sequence before the arrival of tediousness, where we get to a separate question that we need to answer before the end of this session. Wit, instruction, hear me. So it's almost the reverse of what instruction did to you. Instruction, hear me, perhaps. I don't know. Is that too much?
Instruction, hear me, or my sweetheart shall hear that wit from that wretch shall start. 1 foot this body and all shall crack. Forth I will, sure, whatever I lack.
But if ye lack weapons, sir, here is one.
Well said, Diligence, thou art alone. How say ye, sir, is not here weapon?
With that weapon your enemy never threaten, for without the return of confidence ye may be slain, sure, for all diligence.
Good, sir, and Diligence, I tell you plain, will play the man, or my master be slain.
Yea, but what? Saith study no word to this?
No, sir. Ye know study's office is meet for the chamber, not for the field. But tell me, study, wilt thou now yield?
My head aches sore. Would we return?
Thy headache now? I would it were burn. Come on, walking may hap to ease thee.
And will ye be gone then without me?
Yea, by my faith, except ye after. Reason shall know ye are but an hafter.
And they exit, leaving instruction behind, probably despairing.
Well, go your way. When your father Reason heareth how ye obey me at this season, I think he will think his daughter now may marry another man for you. When wits stand so in their own conceit, best let them go, till pride at his height turn and cast them down headlong again. And ye shall see proved by this wit plain, if reason hap not to come, the rather his own destruction he will sure gather. Wherefore to reason will I now get me, leaving that charge whereabout he set me.
And he exits instruction. So yeah, I think Alexandra, you picked the exactly correct implement there. We've got weapons, we've got our own defenses against tediousness, and instructions saying no. Look, you're going to need a better weapon than that. You call that a knife. That's not a knife. You played knifey spoon before. And yeah, the instruction is just going, no, I'm going to have to go back to Reason, who we met earlier, and tell him this is not going well. It's not going well. They're going to have to send in some reinforcements. So that's instruction's job there. Thoughts, questions, issues? I'm still lacking the energy for this, and the upness that it needs. There's that we do get diligence and study back in again. Rachael, did I see?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think it's very interesting, like for a school play, that it's like that they're marrying, but it's like the moral is you have to marry all these things together to have them function, and I also think that, like, because to me all these things seem very like similar, like for wit and reason, but I'm looking at reason now maybe more as like old school philosophy is trying to inform this then new way of thinking and organizing thought, like this new philosophy of thought. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, the actually it's as a sort of series of allegorical constructs, they all do actually hold together quite well. There's a little bit perhaps of language drift, where what we think of for some of the terms doesn't quite marry up to what an early modern mind might, but on the whole it does function very well. Other thoughts before we get to the big question of the session, before we close the session today? See how far we're going to get with the text. Helen, was that a hand or just scratching your ear? You're muted, so I can't tell your response.
Yeah, I was just worrying at my new earpiece.
The new Christmas technology. It works. It works, people. It works. Helen can hear us.
Would you say that it's a happy New Year?
No, I wouldn't.
For those viewing this in the future, this is recorded between Christmas and New Year, and that is the context in which that joke will function. If you're watching this in May, then okay, so here we have the question, which is, how do you perform tediousness? How tedious should the performance of tedious be before it becomes tedious? So I don't know how do you do? Is tedious something that's quite low energy and quite down here, or is tedious, what is tediousness like? And how should it be performed? We'll throw in a few options before we actually have a go. Helen, then Alan.
I wouldn't perform it as afflicted by itself. So I would say that tediousness is something that arrives and takes you over.
We need some unfortunate victims, don't we? Is that, as tediousness makes the speech, that you get, innocent bunny rabbits or something walk past, die of boredom, or something like that. I'm not necessarily saying that literally, but it before it attacks our protagonist, we need to be able to see the effect of tediousness. But I think Helen's right. The tediousness himself is, or herself itself, is not necessarily tedious, but it afflicts tediousness on people. Alan, then Aliki.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the 8-point scale you were talking about attention earlier, which I think before we started recording, and I would put tediousness somewhere between 3 and 4. With 4 being the neutral state. So not particularly excited, not particularly tense, very prosaic.
But maybe not. I mean, that's the question of which is more performable and more fun. Aliki, then Liza.
I was going to say monotonous, but that risks being monotonous.
Or even tedious.
Yeah.
So how do you play with monotony, I guess?
That's why I think the idea of having victims on stage while this speech is happening might be quite fun. Just because we have people around who can be afflicted with terrible tedium. So I'm looking forward to how we might try this now. Liza.
Well, coming at it from the point of view of objectives, what does tediousness want? Tediousness wants to go back to sleep and is angry at having to deal with things that prevent tediousness from going back to sleep. I find this very relatable. And I think tediousness's whole objective in obliterating everyone who comes around their way is their whole objective is to get the noise to stop so they can finally get some fucking rest. I swore. Sorry.
That's fine. It happens. So basically, what we're talking about, this is angry bagpuss. There's just a giant, angry, yawning
Worse,
cat.
angry soup dragon.
Soup dragon's always angry, but doesn't go to sleep. The soup dragon's really quite bad-tempered a lot of the time because always doing the work. Frankly, soup dragon's always making soup and never gets any thanks from the rest of the clangers. No, never happens. No, slaving over a hot thermal vent all the time, and not a thanks from anyone. Certainly not from Mother Clanger, which is very disappointing, as I would think there'd be some support from within the extended network of people. I'm going on a tangent here. I get quite angry about the Clangers. Eric.
I was gonna say that it kind of feels like a sort of arc of energy per line, because it's shorter lines, as we can see on the text here, and it just kind of goes, oh, the body of me, and it's like coming up and down on every line. It's like, oh, I'm so bored, and like, what am I gonna do with myself, and that kind of thing. And it just feels like that kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I see it, but yeah.
Alexandra.
In relation to Aliki's point about monotony, I think there's something very interesting to do with rhythms. So you can make tediousness funny by just applying some of the stuff you were talking about earlier, Rob, with pausing, right? If you get the impression that tediousness comes on and speaks slowly and says 4 lines, and then you thought they'd finished, but actually they have 4 more. And then it's still not over, and so on and so forth. You know, that those ways of playing with expectation, I think, might make it interesting and amusing.
Okay. Who? I want to line up a couple of people to try some tediousness monstering. Who fancies being tediousness? Alan, I see a tediousness. Somebody else to be a tediousness. Liza has drawn the straw there. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with a low energy pausey tediousness from Alan. And everyone from the room, you're allowed to react and fall asleep or die of boredom anytime you like. And then at some point we'll shift to Liza, who's retreating in the distance, and we'll go for a high energy angry bagpuss tediousness, and we'll see which one we prefer. So we'll go from a sort of halfway point. We'll swap over. So Alan, if you would be low energy, low tension, pausey tediousness. Let's see how that goes.
Oh, the body of me. What cages be those that will not once flee from tedious's nose, that thus disease me out of my nest, when I should ease me this body to rest? That wit, that villain, that witch, a shame take him. It is he plain that thus bold doth make him, without my license, to stalk by my door, that drab science, to wed that whore, that I defy her, and for that drab sake, or wit come nigh her, the knave's head shall ache. These bones, this mole, shall beat him to dust, or that drab shall once quench that knave's lust. But methinks I am not half lusty. These joints, these links, be rough and half rusty. I must go shake them, subtle to make them. Stand back, ye wretches, beware the fetches of tediousness, this caitiff to bless. Make room, I say, round every way. This way, that way. What cares that way? If before me, behind me, round about wind me. Now I begin to sweat in my skin. Now am I nimble to make them tremble. Hash brain, the knaves are slain, all that I hit. Where art thou, wit? Thou art but dead. Off goeth thy head at the first blow. Ho ho! Ho ho!
And we'll pause there. Okay, that was the smooth jazz mix, and let's go for Liza. And I think we can be afraid as well as tired and bored. I think let's see what the reactions to this can be. So tediousness from the top. Be afraid, everyone. Be very afraid.
Oh, the body of me! What caitiffs be those that will not once flee from tediousness knows, but thus disease me out of my nest, that I should ease me my body to rest? That wit, that villain, that wretch, a shame take him! It is he plain that thus bold doth make him, without my license to stalk by my door to that drab science, to wed that whore. But I defy her, and for that drab sake or wit come nigh her, the knave's head shall ache. These bones, this maul shall beat him to dust, or that drab shall once quench that knave's lust. Methinks I am not half lusty. These joints, these links be rough and half rusty. I must go shake them, supple to make them. Stand back, ye wretches! Beware the fetches of tediousness, these caitiffs to bless. Make room, I say. This way, that way, who cares what way? That before me, behind me, round about, wind me. Now I begin to sweat in my skin. Now am I nimble to make them tremble. Pash head, pash brain, the knaves are slain, all that I hit. Where art thou, wit? Thou art but dead. Off goeth thy head at the first blow. Ho, 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 ho.
Yeah, it does seem to match the text better that this is a giant. I mean, it does say he's got a visor over his head, that we're talking about a sort of lumbering giant with a tin hat on and a massive club. So it's it may not be the brightest thing in the universe, but I don't think he performs tediousness. I think that feels like a more accurate thing. Both interesting things. Other thoughts about this? It feels like it's a giant. It does feel like it's very Jack and the Giant Killer. Helen.
If the cast members can be spared, it would be nice for him to have a number of people who are captive to him, who he keeps sending up to sleep and waking up suddenly.
Well, I suppose tedium is not so much about falling asleep. I think that's been a bit of a blind alley. It's tedium is when you are bored, isn't it? It's when you've got nothing to do and you're sitting. It's a bit like actually me over the last few days of twiddling one's thumbs slightly, of just not nervous energy perhaps as well.
I do think Helen. There's something in the text. There's stuff in the text that backs up what Helen says. To say, the fetches of tediousness could be tediousness's minions, and they could run out in the audience like molesting people.
Yeah, because what I saw was a whole range of people at a particularly dire seminar, and their heads are gradually going down and down, and then every now and then, oh, and then they pretend they've been paying attention the whole time.
I have been that person.
Yeah, or
Yes.
you know, is it a job that is just fiddly and annoying that you don't want to be doing? Is it untangling a cable? What is tediousness? I may be over-rigging this one. Eric.
I kind of had a similar experience to what Helen described, where I actually fell asleep in the lecture theatre for 20 minutes and the lecturer did not notice. The lecture was about 2 hours long and I was sitting in like the fourth row. So, maybe something like that. I was aware that I was asleep and sort of in his line of sight, but sort of, yeah. Not my proudest moment.
I mean, we are talking about study here, not doing practical tasks.
Yeah.
This is the tediousness that comes with science, with learning, with study, with diligence. It's not to do with things that are actually quite interesting, like solving puzzles.
So maybe what we need are flashes of people sitting at desks in a room, writing very tedious notes or something like that, and losing the will to live. The clock ticking in the background. Liza.
I kind of interpret tediousness as burnout. And that, again, I mean, I think what came up from the discussions we've had up to now and our various experiments is that the burnout, lethargy, it's something tediousness inflicts rather than something the character of tediousness has, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why we've been talking about having victims. Helen's idea that there's these caged victims that you're just dragging around with it. And that what it's doing is just waving its club or whatever device that it has for inflicting tediousness on people. How does tediousness do that? It's tedious stick. It has its tediousness stick. I don't know what that would be. But yeah, thoughts, Eric.
Also, the bit where it's like patch head, patch brain, the names are slain, and all that stuff. It feels like a sort of training arena type montage, where like in, I don't know, for random reasons, like Hercules, where he's training himself to like aim properly and stuff, and that kind of it's that element of just sort of you're dead and you're dead and you're dead. But it's actually nothing corresponding to reality.
So perhaps tediousness looks more like an old school tutor with mortarboard and a cane, and is just going along, just tapping people on the head, rather than a massive club kind of thing. Anyway, I think we need to move on. We've got a little bit more text to do, and then we're closing the session. So we're going to get to the fight itself. Who do you think is going to win between wit and study and diligence and tediousness? Do you want to place your bets now? Who's going to win this battle? Rachael.
I'm gonna put my money on tediousness.
And you shoot, you score. Indeed, the tediousness monster is very well equipped. So once again, we have this interesting sort of entrance of this pack. Is wit, study, and diligence, are they entering as a group? Are they entering at some distance? The stage direction we've got is wit speaketh at the door. So it might be a case of sort of just standing there, doesn't really want to go into the room, into the giant cave with the monster. The question, let's let the dialogue talk. We haven't got much dialogue before the exit of tediousness. So wit, study, diligence as you were, and tediousness as well. And we'll pause at a moment of interest.
Study,
Yes, sir.
how doth thy headache?
Oh, yeah. Good what, sir? Much pain I do take.
Diligence,
Yes, sir, here.
how dost thou? Doth thy stomach serve thee to fight now?
Yea, sir, with yonder wretch of vengeance on him that threateneth you thus. Set even upon him.
Upon him, diligence? Better nay.
Better nay, study? Why should we fray?
For I am weary, my head acheth sore.
Try, foolish study, thou shalt do no more but aid my master with thy presence.
No more it shalt thou, neither diligence. Aid me with your presence, both you twain. And for my love, myself shall take pain.
Sir, we be ready to aid you, sir.
I ask no more, study. Come then, go.
And we'll just pause there before we get to tediousness. Yeah, it's interesting. Study obviously has a pain in the head. Is it, I've got a headache and I don't want to fight the monster? Or is the effect of the monster getting you already? Which do we want to go with here? Is the effect of tediousness radiating around and out and weakening you just by being in the same room? There's an indication of maybe does diligence is diligence having a stomachache, or is that a more a general thing? It's that sense of these three people who don't really necessarily want to be fighting, but they sort of do, and it's just they're sort of trying to talk themselves out of it, or at least I'm not going. And there's a sort of nice back and forth around that. Thoughts, Rachael?
Just on the come then go, I just imagine Wit taking study and like, okay, come then, like put his arm around him and then push him in so he's the first one to do it, and then just see what happens to him. Just throw him to the lions to protect myself.
It's a matter you come then, goes forward, go, and actually runs away rather than and is caught by tediousness. I mean, there's several moments there of actually what precisely could be done with the text, as well as what is the text actually doing, because I think there's a lot of potential for comedy in that moment. Eric?
I feel like, up to this point we've had like sort of let me at him, and then something. Well, actually, it's quite a big giant. I mean, I don't really want to be. Yeah, I have this thing I gotta do. I know it's Tuesday, so I have to go and like do this thing. Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Alexandra.
Yeah, and the building on that, the aid me with your presence thing kind of works really nicely as a setup for a switch. So it's let me at him. Yeah, we'll go. Okay, you stand here. Okay, we're going away. Something like that kind of sets it up as though something's going to happen, and then switches it over. And if we do that kind of back and forth, there's comedy in that.
Yeah, no, I quite agree. Liking that. Again, that all we can do is talk about many of these things. They're not necessarily things we can fully enact on Zoom. Let's just Liza, if you could be tediousness for this closing moment. So Wit either has been pushed into the room and is trying to escape, or has willingly gone forward and everybody else has gone. It could be come then go. You go away. I will fight it alone. It could be a brave moment. So the options on how Wit goes to attack tediousness are many and various. The stage direction we have, and it is from the manuscript, Tediousness Riseth Up, which I think Liza is standing by to do. So Wit, can you give the cue line for tediousness to appear? I ask no more, study, come then go. Play that however you fancy.
I ask no more, study. Come then, go.
Why art thou come?
Yea, wretch to thy pain.
Well then, have at thee!
Have at thee again!
Yeah. Now, the question here is, we've got these two lines for the fight. The stage direction is he falleth and down and dieth, poor Wit. Again, how honest are we going to make this fight? Because it could be tediousness, then have at thee, and then Wit says have at thee again, and so that they actually have a sword fight, or a club fight, or whatever fight. Or is it tediousness, then have at thee, boink on the head, have at thee again. Is an option. It may be going against the text, but it might be funnier. I feel that's allowed. Thoughts. And it's always like tediousness is why art thou come? I think it does seem it feels like tediousness knows its wit and knows wit's coming.
Yeah, he said in the speech before this that he knew who was coming and that he was generally opposed to people passing by his door and disturbing his sleep in general, but he seemed to find wit particularly offensive.
Yeah. So you've come at last, have you? You know, I've been waiting for you.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Yea, wretch to thy pain. So Wit falleth down and dieth in this fight. However comic or big and bold, he is unprepared. He does not have his resources. His followers are useless. Here Wit falleth down and dieth, and tediousness gets to gloat, or whatever. Just a note, we will probably alter the by Mahound's Bones cries, which are also clues to some degree how this might be performed. It's more herody than perhaps anything else. So, tediousness, final speech.
Do you want me to alter the Mahound now, or
have a play? Have a play. It's an intention that we'll do.
Lie thou there. Now have at ye, caitiffs. Do ye flee in faith? Ah, whoresome thieves. By Facebook's bones, had the wretches tarried, their necks without heads they should have carried. Yea, by Mark Zuckerberg's nose, might I have patted them in 20 gobbets to have squatted them. To teach the knaves to come near the snout of tediousness. Walk further about, I trow now they will. And as for thee, thou wilt no more trouble me. Yet, lest the knave be not safe enough, the whoreson shall bear me another cuff. Rawr! Nay, now lie still, caitiff. Take thy rest, while I take mine in my own nest.
Lovely. Several things there. So we've got an exit cue for the caitiffs. So tediousness goes for the caitiffs, and the poor study and diligence who clearly have to go and run away very, very quickly. It's an interesting question. Does tediousness just hit the dead body, or does Wit vaguely go, mother, and then gets another whack? How do we feel?
That second one would be good, I think.
Yes. When I said you're dead, you're dead. Thunk. I like the Facebook the by Mark Zuckerberg's nose. I think that's one. It might date, but it feels like it'll work reasonably well for a while. Yeah.
I just figured what distracts you from study and is unutterably tedious, but you can't stop, and you also can't study, and it rots your brain.
Yeah, tediousness from the people who brought you doom scrolling. Yeah, actually, I quite like that. If tediousness has corporate sponsors all over, social media of all kinds. Yeah, it's very dynamic. There's lots of fun potential here. It's something we can mostly discuss here. But we didn't really, when we first looked at this play, do much in the way of sort of breakdown of the potential beats, and it's really nice to be looking at them now. Next time we will pick up where we left off, where we will meet the already discussed honest recreation, because in a moment Wit has just died, but don't worry, spoilers, people. Wit comes back. They bring Wit back to life in a way that is as contrived as any Marvel character who they say is dead and then turns out to still be alive, and in their own separate spin-off. Yeah, it's a recreation, and that's a question that we'll have next time, of how do we bring back Wit? What things can we do to Wit to revive Wit, and what are Wit revivers in life? Before we move on to the questions of what is honest recreation like? How honest is honest recreation as opposed to idleness? And idleness is, bit naughty, perhaps. Any final thoughts from the room? Anyone want to throw in anything about any potential jokes we've missed? Any options that we haven't already had? Helen?
Yes, this is from the chat, but it hasn't been said online. Tediousness has a lot in common with PowerPoint.
Next slide, please. Big club hitting you on the head. Anything else? Rachael?
I want Alan to say what he put in the chat about Wit.
What, cut him in half and then you get a half Wit? Or do you mean how do we bring him back? It's an honest recreation.
Oh, the half-wit one.
Yes. And any other highlights from the chat everyone wants to throw out into the public domain? No, I think we've squeezed as much out of this tediousness monster as we can at the moment. The tediousness monster will return, people. We may not get around to it in this session of workshops, but it is not the end of this terrifying beast. But all that remains is to thank all the wonderful performers today for all their lovely readings and thoughts and comments, and hopefully return soon with more from the world of Wit and Science. Goodbye.
Bye.